I really like what Chris Van Hollen is doing, and I really hope that other Democrats take notice of it and also participate in this. I think what he's doing is good and also demonstrates bravery as well. He's technically putting himself in harm's way by doing this. If he actually follows through on this and goes to El Salvador, much respect to him. I think that it is time for doing exactly this.
I think it's important that we go to El Salvador to show his family, his wife, his mother, his brother, his kids, that we're not giving up on this because, as you indicated, the Trump administration has admitted that this was done in error.
I'm not even joking when I say this is the first time I've felt even a modicum of confidence and competence coming from the Democratic Party. This is what our public servants are supposed to do. They are supposed to uphold the law no matter what. They're supposed to defend their constituents no matter what. Abrego Garcia is a constituent, okay? This is brave. This is bold. This is what the expectation is from all Democrats. I do not care about his other takes. I don't care about anything right now with the exception of this initiative, okay? He is right. I worry they will fumble it like they only care about this case because it breaks the law. No, this is a very important thing. This is a very important thing that they're doing. It's a very important step that they're taking. And by the way, this is in some ways not dissimilar to how Doctors Without Borders operates. Like when you're a white guy, when you're a white American citizen, when you're a white man who's an American citizen, for example, you have a certain set of privileges that put you at a higher categorization as a target by any state, okay? When you're a senator on top of that, you have literally the top level priority. So things that other foreign nations can do to you reflect America as a whole. Do you see what I mean? He's a congressman. What the Yeah, no, that's what I mean. This is incredibly important. Is your arguments optics, guys, but unironically, because I agree? No, this isn't just optics either. This is putting your body on the line. You're using your privilege as a shield. You're using it as at the very least, as a way to refocus people's priorities and attentions to this incredibly unjust deportations regime. Do you see what I'm saying? This is actual action. I think that a competent Democratic Party would quite literally send an entire coalition of people armed to the gills with immigration attorneys and civil rights litigators down to El Salvador on a mission all together, okay, and make themselves impossible to deny, make themselves impossible to avoid. That is precisely what should be happening here.
Both the federal district court and the Supreme Court determined that he can't just be essentially abducted from the country, that he gets his due process rights. That's a fundamental value that we have in this country. That's why the courts have been unanimous in their rulings here.
So now there's this legal limbo.
Yeah, if something happens to a U.S. senator, it becomes an international incident. It reflects poorly on El Salvador, and Trump looks weak if he doesn't respond to any provocations by El Salvador. Exactly. Do you see what I mean? This becomes a major issue of consequence for the Trump administration if, as the American president, he literally lets El Salvador, a much tinier, much less powerful nation, dominate not only American citizens like this, but literally a senator. Do you see what I mean? Nah, they'll just say the senator was a terrorist. No shot. I don't think Americans will stand for it. I disagree that Trump will look weak to his base. He'll just support it. They'll love that a Democrat is being hurt. I think you guys are wrong. And I think you're misunderstanding Trump's base in general. It's an unknown senator. Dude, it's a senator. What are you talking about? Why do you think the cartels don't touch American citizens and literally turn around and apologize when they accidentally kidnap or, God forbid, kill an American citizen? What happens if an American citizen is harmed by any citizen, like a traveler, okay, a tourist, accidentally gets kidnapped by the cartel? What do? They assassinate the cartel members that actually did wrongdoing to the American citizen. Why? Because the American passport is a reflection of American hegemonic power, okay? That's a literal random American that we're talking about. Not every country is like Israel, okay? Israel gets to do whatever the it wants, but other countries cannot get the Israel exemption, okay? You are crazy. This is not Rashida Tlaib either. This is not Ilhan Omar. This is a white guy, dude. A white guy from Maryland. What are you guys talking about? The same principles, the same fundamentals that allow Americans to turn a blind eye to all this injustice because it's happening to brown people, white nativism, white supremacy, is the same principle that will cause them to pay close attention to a white man, senator from Maryland, going to El Salvador. You can't do certain things to a guy like that. I think the old rule set is dead, my guy. No, this will cause tremendous instability, okay? What is happening in chat, by the way? You guys are so pessimistic. You guys are so pessimistic that you're like, what's the alternative? That he do nothing? What is happening here?
Just shows the lies that we're hearing. I mean, that was just such an outrageous, bizarre episode at the White House the other day, where everyone's sort of saying, I'm not going to let him go. I'm not going to try to let him go. I mean, this is in defiance of a court order. This country has stood for the rule of law and due process. And I'm going to go to El Salvador to try to see Abrego Garcia and also talk about his release.
You underestimate the anger, Hasan. Mike was right. The Democratic base is reaching a boiling point. What are you talking about? This is why I'm saying senators like this and actions that are taken like this is actually a good thing, because it causes people to pay attention to what's going on. What are you saying right now? This goes along with the anger and resentment and frustration that people experience. This is quite literally the point. This is infinitely more directionally appropriate than what Cory Booker was doing, okay? When you're a member of Congress, you have tremendous power, okay? I know that Donald Trump is actively trying to undermine the legislative body, and the Republicans have actually taken a lot of initiatives in that direction and have successfully undermined the legislative body, but you still have some powers in your hands, okay? As a senator, you get a coalition together and try to revoke any sort of like foreign aid going to El Salvador, for example. Like, these are things that you can advocate for. You can veto the pre-existing aid that's going to El Salvador. You try and veto Trump's $6 million scheme, for example. There's a lot that you can do. They have power. If they didn't have power, Trump wouldn't be actively trying to undermine the legislative body's power to begin with.
I want to get some more right now in our top story, the legal saga over the fate of a Maryland man mistakenly.
Like, the very fact that this story is becoming a story, you have to understand something. If you're in here, if you're in this community, you've heard me talk about the deportations regime for quite a while, nonstop. I've offered endless coverage to this issue, so you're obviously very well aware of what's going on. But average Americans, if you recall my conversation with Ested Herndon of the New York Times, average Americans are not fully focused on the deportation side, and they're utterly oblivious to the cruel deportations regime that Trump has implemented. They're utterly oblivious to the violation of due process. They're utterly oblivious to the violations of the First Amendment, on the anti-Israel student kidnappings that are taking place. All of this stuff is happening as the public has not been able to focus on it at all. Meanwhile, this is the story that finally tilts the scales in our direction because people are covering it. The mainstream is consistently covering it. It's becoming a point of contention. This will change the 2080 issue into a 50-50 issue and then inevitably turn it into a 2080 issue in the other direction. This is how it happens. People do not magically have this information beamed into their brains. They have to see it. They have to understand why it's like cruel, why it's unjust. And all of those liberals that we mock here on a daily basis will play a formative role in getting the broad awareness campaign going. Okay? That's it. Even your MAGA parents need to see this reality and go, I'm turning sour on this stuff. I don't like it. That's how it goes. That's why I still actively yell at the Democratic Party despite not believing in them, because I want them to actually make a fuss. Because if they make a fuss, then the media covers it. And when the media covers it, then inevitably more people are aware of what's going on. They demand their congresspersons to make even more of a fuss. This is how change happens. It doesn't happen with, the revolutionary violence in the way that you think it's going to happen overnight, okay? This is the unfortunate, sad state of affairs. Change is marginal. It does not happen overnight. And it happens only with unlikely allies. You have to keep pushing over and over and over again. This is why I laugh whenever dumb who are neoliberals keep claiming, Hasan, you always have pie in the sky ideas. You just want perfect to be an enemy of the good. And it's like, no, I don't. I understand that, but I want there to be some good. I understand how this system works a lot better than many of these Democratic Party dick riders do, okay? This is precisely the reason why I will go out to bat and actively entertain politicians who I'm at odds with, regardless of my differences in agreement, differences in opinion, because I know that they have a lot of power still. They have a lot of power to get older people and people who vote and people in other positions of power to pay attention to these sorts of issues. That's why I want Bernie Sanders to actively make more of a fuss in his rallies. Up until this very moment, immigration was not at the forefront. People did not care about this, okay? Now you have national polls coming out with disapproval reaching the highest stage on immigration, Trump's strongest aspect, okay? Trump won on immigration, right? Democrats were terrified. Democrats were terrified of what Trump was doing on immigration. They were like, oh yeah, we're going to be the immigrant deporters, actually. Trump is not serious on immigrant deportation. This is just the beginning. I don't know why people don't trust me when I talk about this. I've been doing this professionally for 10 years. It wasn't that long ago when you had liberal wine moms talking about abolishing ICE, dude, under the first Trump regime, because they recognized the cruelty, because the media started covering it. They were like, what the are you doing? What do you mean child separation is a deterrence? That's insane. That's torturous. That's not American. That's un-American. People do not pay attention to politics. And a lot of people do not understand the impact of the policies that they're advocating for, okay? People don't care about facts. People don't care about logic. People cannot comprehend the vision that they want for the future to actually look like once implemented. Only after this vision is implemented do they go, oh my God, I was wrong. This sucks. And there is a very obvious example that is in front of us. Tariffs. Trump ran on tariffs. Trump ran on tariffs. He said tariffs is the most beautiful word in the English language. People were like, yeah, I love tariffs. I yelled about how tariffs and the way that Trump is trying to implement them are idiotic over and over again for almost a year, and certainly over the course of the past couple of months. And yet, people did not listen. People did not understand it until it became a reality for them, until they were like, oh my God, the prices are going to go up. How did they start recognizing that? Because the media started covering it that way. Because politicians started yelling about it. Because they started fearing for their wallet. Once implemented, they flipped very quickly, if you noticed.